I remember I had a client who was like, okay, I'm just doing intermittent fasting. And during my intermittent fasting, during my feast time, I'm having whatever. Go to McDonald's, I'm having fried foods. And I was like, you know what? If that's what you want to do, go for it, sis. But you are not helping your process. So you've heard about intermittent fasting. Maybe you even tried it, but it just feels like you're doing it. And it's like, when does this end? Like, something just ain't right. How is that person losing 50 pounds doing intermittent fasting and I only lost 7? What the heck is going on? All right, I got you. Okay, so I get it, and I've been through that. And so now I'm gonna share some tips on how to do intermittent fasting successfully, right? And I wanna show you how to do it while eating for your hormones. So if you haven't watched my other video, I posted a video about eating for your hormones and how to lose, significant amount of weight doing it, right? How to sustain your health doing it, all of those things, and still feel good in the process. If you have watched that video, let's continue forward so that I can introduce myself real quickly. All right, so I'm Ileka Falette. I'm a mom of 4 who lost 120 pounds doing healthy eating, exercising, and mindset changes, right? And then I help thousands of women do the same thing, mostly moms, and it felt amazing. I thought, I was like, ooh, yes, look at me, right? But now I really just do challenges on occasion and host memberships and things like that, and really share a lot of things here on YouTube. So be sure to subscribe, follow me, and also go to ilekafalette.com so you can sign up for our newsletter where I share weekly tips and things like that. And you have the opportunity to potentially hop into our membership. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, intermittent fasting, right? What is it? What's the big deal? Why is everybody talking about it? So I did a video a few years ago where I talked about intermittent fasting and what it is. And I actually have a video coming up about what I eat in a day during intermittent fasting. So you'll be able to see that pretty soon. But for now, let's talk about like the different ways, because what we often hear when it comes to intermittent fasting, and I'm sure you've heard this, is you get to eat from 12 p.m. until 8 p.m. and then you fast in between. And they call that a 16-8. And that right now is really the most popular version of intermittent fasting and what a lot of people do. But there's so many different caveats and ways of doing it. So if you watch my video on eating for your hormones, I talked about how sometimes fasting for longer periods of time, even up to like 72 hours, makes sense for where you are in your cycle. And sometimes fasting for less time, like literally 12 hours, makes sense for where you are in your cycle. So I want to share with you how you can, what fasting for 12 hours looks like, what fasting for 16 hours looks like, and even what fasting for up to 72 hours looks like. All right, so let's talk about it. All right, so let's start with the 16 hours, because most people do that and talk about it, and that's how they live their lifestyle. And honestly, isn't that hard? Like when you start, it feels hard, I gotta say, right? If you're someone who normally eats 3 meals a day and you're like, okay, I eat breakfast at 8 a.m., I eat lunch at noon, and I eat dinner at 5 p.m. That's what I do, this is my norm, and then I have a snack or dessert at 7, right? Like if you're someone who's like that, it might feel a little hard at first, right? But after a while, it gets really easy. So for folks who are gonna do like a 16-8, meaning 8 hours a day of the day, you will eat. That's what we call the feast time, right? And then 16 hours a day, you'll fast. That's the fasting time, right? So what that means, you won't eat during that time. During the fasting time, and this goes for all of the intermittent fasting types, right? During the fasting time, you're not gonna eat at all, right? You can have things like water, you can have electrolytes, depending on what your goals are, right? You can also have, and when I say electrolytes, sorry, let me preface that. You're gonna have a sugar-free electrolyte, something that doesn't have sugar in it, right? And if you're looking for that, I have a link at the bottom for some really great sugar-free electrolytes. Also, you're gonna have things like coffee, but it's not gonna have a bunch of stuff in it, right? So you're not gonna have your bulletproof coffee while you're intermittent fasting. If you're a keto gal, you know what bulletproof coffee is. If you're not, you can Google it, right? Or you can go to one of my videos, because I'm sure I got a ton of videos where I made bulletproof coffee. I don't really have that much anymore, but there was a time. Anyway, so you can't do that. You don't wanna do that during your fasting. During your fasting, you wanna have things that are still gonna keep you all right? You still feel good, so you're drinking water, you might have some tea, you're not gonna put sugar in it. Some people can do some sweeteners in it, so like maybe a stevia or something like that in your tea or in your coffee. I wouldn't add any milk or dairy or even like an oat milk. I wouldn't do any of that. Maybe like a slight like almond milk or a powdered creamer or something you may be able to do. But you want to essentially, during this fasting time, you want to have very little calories. I'm saying under like 50 in order to sustain that fasting, right? Because the purpose of the fasting is for cellular rejuvenation. It's so your body can catch up, your body can process the foods, your body can like literally start to say, okay, here's some steady state, right? It also helps to maintain your blood sugar levels, because anytime you eat, even if you're eating extremely low carb, your blood sugar is doing a little something, right? So during the fasting time, you get an opportunity for your blood sugar to just be sustained, and your body's like, ooh, look at me, I'm feeling good, I'm chilling, right? And it helps you on this whole weight loss journey, or even on a journey just to feeling better, right? So fasting gets to be a part of it. And so that means you're not really eating anything, right? Water, tea, coffee, you may be able to do a little stevia. That's about it, right? Maybe some electrolytes. And then during your feasting, so this also depends on your goal. Some people are like, you know what? I want to eat whatever I want. I remember I had a client who was like, okay, I'm just doing intermittent fasting. And during my intermittent fasting, during my feast time, I'm having whatever. I'm gonna go to McDonald's, I'm gonna have fried foods. And I was like, you know what? If that's what you wanna do, go for it, sis. But you are not helping your process, right? You're not helping your longevity. If your goal is to live longer, to feel better, to have more energy, that's not gonna help, because you're eating a bunch of processed foods, right? So during the feasting time, and then she wondered why her results weren't what she wanted them to be, because she was eating whatever, right? I always look at everything as an 80-20, right? There are times when you can eat a little off plan, but for the most part, and that's 20% of the time, but you want to make sure that your 80% of the time is no processed food. So you want to be eating things that, like I always say, come from the earth, walk on the earth and the sea. And then you also want to be taking in a good amount of water, right? So that your body is still like flushing and doing what it needs to do. And you can still have a few, you can have, like, think about it, rice. You can still, if you're like, you know what, I'm not trying to be all low carb like that, you can still eat regular things. But I wouldn't be out here having all this processed foods just because it's just not good for the body, right? I mean, let's just be real with ourselves, right? If you decide that if anybody decides they want to eat at, like, I don't know, McDonald's or whatever every day, you know that, things may not turn out the way you want them to turn out. That's just life, right? So, but you get to decide for yourself what it is you want to do. For me, and I'll show you guys this, I like to eat things during my feasting time. Let's say, depending on where I am in my cycle, and I talk about that in the Eating for Your Hormones video, but if I'm early in my cycle, during my feasting time, it's gonna be things like, eggs and maybe a steak for breakfast, like steak and eggs, love it. Or steak and sausage, which is more likely, right? Turkey sausage, eggs and turkey sausage, eggs and bacon, things that are kind of lower in carbs and giving me that protein. Because remember, protein is always king, right? So I'm gonna be doing things like that, or even just a protein shake. Those are the things, that's usually how I break my fast in the morning, right? Then throughout the day, I may have another snack, another meal, but usually I'm just really focused on protein and really moving away from carbs. At most, you might see me have a little bit of rice because I really love rice and grew up on it, but that's about it, right? And you'll see that through my meals. And then when it's time to fast, I'm fasting, I'm not eating anything. I'm drinking tons and tons of water, and that's it. So that's what you get to do during that 16-8, right? Depending on where you are in your cycle. If I am in the stage of my cycle right before my period or during my ovulation time, I might go into having some sushi or something, right? Usually I still start with that protein shake because I'm gonna get as much protein as I can in early, because sometimes we start to miss our protein throughout the day. So I'm gonna get mine in. I'm either gonna have my protein shake, which is roughly like 60 grams of protein, or I'm gonna have some eggs and, you know, and some chicken or something like that, right? To really get some protein in. So that's what I'm gonna do usually early on. And then I may have some sushi, right? Fully with the rice and everything, or we might have Jamaican that day and have some rice and peas, right? I'm gonna go for it because I love those things and I get to have them during my ovulation period or the time right for my period, right? So that's what I'm doing, right? And that's how we get to look at intermittent fasting when we're doing like a 16-8, right? One thing I did want to mention with the 16-8 is many people look at it as a, you know, noon to 8 p.m. I'm actually more of the school of having your first meal around 10 a.m. and your last meal by 6 p.m. I honestly think it works better for most people's schedules, like work schedule, life schedules. And then also I look at it as if my last meal is by 8 p.m., I have to go to bed at at like midnight or later for my body to have processed this food, right? So if I were to do a 12 to 8 p.m. fast, fuel, like the 16-8 where it's like 12 p.m. is my first meal, 8 p.m. is my last meal, I would probably ensure that I am eating nothing. I'm not gonna have any carbs after 4 p.m. So my carbs would be earlier in the day, and then I wouldn't have carbs after 4 p.m. And the reason is because now your body has to try and process those carbs and you're about to go to bed, right? We all know that we work off things faster. I mean, we work off like calories and things like that while we're awake. And so carbs are gonna give that extra energy, right? If that's what you're using it for. So if you're using carbs for energy and you eat them at 8 p.m., what are you doing with that energy, right? You're going to bed an hour later. Well, some people stay up all night, I don't know. But I would probably go to bed at like 10 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock. I'm not gonna have carbs at 8 p.m. So I usually do, when I'm doing intermittent fasting at 16-8, I usually stop my last meal by like 6:30 p.m. So I'll do like a 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. to about 6 or 7 p.m. That's usually a better time period for me because I don't like to eat later in the evening, because when I eat later in the evening, number one, my stomach doesn't feel good, it impacts my gut, all of those things. So you get to look at what works for you. But I wanted to make sure I mentioned that when it came to the different fasts, whether it be 16-8 or even 12-12, really just looking at how do I get it done, not done, but how do I have my eating earlier in the day so that I'm not eating right before bed? Because it doesn't feel good on the stomach, right? We all know that. We've all had a huge meal right before bed and then our dreams are weird or we're burping or all kinds of things, right? We don't want to be doing that. So try and eat your last meal about 3 hours before bed. So if that means that your fasting window moves earlier, then that's what it means. All right, so if you're doing a 12-12, which means 12 hours of the day, usually somewhere around 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., you're having your meals, right? That's when you're feasting, and then you fast during 12 p.m. to 8 a.m., right? That's still intermittent fasting. So if you're doing it like that, you could be that person who has a meal at 8 p.m., 8 a.m., breakfast, lunch at noon, dinner at 5 p.m., and maybe you have a little snack at 7 p.m. before your fasting window starts. There's a lot of people that do that, and that is okay too, right? And you just do it, you choose your fasting based on a couple of things. One, what your goals are. And number two, if you're a woman especially, what's happening in your cycle, right? But if you're a woman past your cycle, you can also still look at what your goals are, and also how you feel. Because one thing that intermittent fasting really helps with is it helps you to determine whether you want to be eating right now, whether you're actually hungry or if you're just eating because it's there. So when you have a window, when you create a window of when you're not going to eat, what happens is you start to realize, I'm wanting to eat right now. It's 10 p.m. Why am I wanting to eat? And then you look and you're like, I'm wanting to eat just because I'm bored, or I'm still downstairs, you know, and the kitchen's right there. You know, like there's reasons that you want to eat outside of hunger, and you start to notice that a little more during intermittent fasting. So that's 12-12, right? And depending on your goals, you could stay low carb during those 12 hours, or you can go a little moderate carb. I wouldn't go high carb. I wouldn't be eating out here eating 300 carbs a day. I don't know those people who do that. That's just not, I don't see it, right? I don't see it. I feel like if you're eating 300 carbs a day, you got to be a bodybuilder to handle that, you know, because it's like, that's a lot of carbs. So anyways, so that is the 12-12. We've gotten through the 12-12, we've gotten through the 16-8s. Now let's talk about those extended fasts, right? Those longer fasts, whether it be 18-hour fast, 20-hour fast, 24-hour fast, 72-hour fast, right? What you can have during the fast still really remains the same. It's gonna be things like water, electrolytes, right? The sugar-free electrolytes, and then things like tea and coffee, right? But again, everything is gonna be like extremely, like almost no calories, because you want your body to keep moving, and you don't want to be impacting your blood sugar during this time, because that's all a part of it. That's how you get to sustain autophagy, right? And if you haven't heard of autophagy, you can go Google it, or I mean, I'll give you a quick synopsis. Autophagy is basically when your body's, your cells are regenerating, right? So it's really helping your body to heal. And we get into autophagy usually after around 14 to 16 hours of fasting. And autophagy, that's when autophagy starts, and it'll keep going until you eat again. So that's really why people do those longer fasts of like 18 hours, 24 hours, and 72 hours. Now, I will say I don't recommend a longer fast like extremely often. Like some people can do them, I'll do them like maybe once a month. I do know people who do longer fasts like once a week. And when I'm thinking longer fasts, I'm thinking, you know, 36 hours or more, right? And just for me, it's the reason I don't recommend it is because, especially if you're someone that works out quite often, right? Like me, you've seen me, I work out, I love it. I love working out. And because when you work out, especially if you're lifting, you need that fuel. And so by fasting those longer fasts, I could go I can do like a OMAD, like once a day eating, right? I mean, one OMAD is 1 meal a day. I could eat like that and still work out, but going 72 hours, it's gonna like really break down my muscle a lot more, and I don't want that. So so that's why I don't do the 72-hour fast that often. I'll do it like once a month, right? And when I do it, it's usually, remember the last video, eating for your hormones, it's usually during my follicular phase, which is right before ovulation, or it's right after ovulation, well before like the time that I'm about to get my period. So those are the times I might do a longer fast like that. And I usually do them if I want to reset, you know, if I want to reset something. So that's just kind of a tip that I have. But so when you're doing the longer fast, sometimes it can be really tough, right? 24-hour fast, if you're somewhat advanced at fasting, you've been doing it a while, 24 hours isn't that hard, right? 1 meal a day, it's really not that tough, right? Especially if you're coming from like a keto diet or something like that, where you've built up your fats a bit. So now you're not as hungry during that 24 hours. So maybe that 1 meal that you eat a day has a significant amount of fat in it, and you know, so it's and a significant amount of protein. So you're getting what you need during that 1 meal a day to sustain you for another day, right? That doesn't feel as hard. What happens is a lot of people who do OMAD, 1 meal a day, they may not be getting enough nutrition during that 1 meal. So if you're intermittent fasting, you're like, I heard this 1 meal a day was a thing, I'm doing it. You want to ensure that you're getting enough food during that 1 meal a day, especially if you're going to do 1 meal a day for quite some time. You know, some people do it for like, you know, they'll try it for a couple of days and it's fine. That's not going to kill your metabolism, right? Or mess anything up really, right? But if you are sustaining 1 meal a day on a regular basis, like this is how you eat, you want to ensure you're getting enough nutrition, because especially if you're working out, you want to make sure you're fueling your muscles and that you're getting enough nutrition to fuel your body in general, right? Like we have certain vitamins that we need to be getting. And if you're not eating enough to sustain that, then a few things are impacted. Your gut can be impacted, your your metabolism can be impacted, and your muscle mass can be impacted. And you know I always talk about muscle mass as a woman over 35, right? Like, we know our muscle mass wants to be impacted anyway. So we're like, you know what? I need to eat, get that protein in, sustain my muscles, get the strength training in, sustain my muscle mass, right? So if you're doing OMAD, you're not getting enough protein, that's an issue, right? So you've really got to watch what you're eating if you're doing OMAD. You really got to be smart about it, right? And intentional about it. Don't look at it just as weight loss. Also look at it as muscle maintenance, right? Because that's going to be important, maintaining and even growing your muscle, right? Your muscle mass. Because like I said, after the age of 30, I think it is, women lose between 1% and 3% of muscle mass a year, right? So how much you may even be losing more if you're doing OMAD and not managing your protein, and also not managing, getting the strength training in. So definitely keep an eye on that. So something to think about, right? All right, so that's an OMAD, right? You want to make sure you're eating enough. Now, going for the longer fast, and prepping for a longer fast, meaning like a 36-hour or a 72-hour fast, I often recommend that folks are getting enough fats in, right? Prior to that fast. So at least you're sustaining through, a day, and then you're getting enough fluids in too. So many times during a 72-hour fast, you'll see people start to get a little dehydrated and things like that. So when I was prepping for my wedding, back almost 20 years ago now, I decided that I was going to do a fast so that I could lose weight for my wedding. That's what I thought was a smart idea, right? I didn't know anything about it, and it wasn't like I had done a ton of research. I just saw that Beyonce did this, and so I was going to try it too, right? So I did this fast, and as I was doing it, I was losing weight. The weight was flying off, right? And I was exercising, just doing cardio, but the weight was coming off, and I actually didn't feel bad. I felt pretty good. I had energy, because fasting can give you energy. But here's the thing. Here's where I messed up. I was not getting enough electrolytes in and enough fluids in general. So all of a sudden, I started getting this pain in my side, and it hurt so bad. I mean, I was like, I thought I was dying. I was like, this is it. I called my fiance at the time, right? Who was now my husband. And I was like, babe, I think it's over. Like, talk about hypochondriac, right? I was like, it's over. I don't know what this is. I got this pain in my side, and I don't think I'm gonna make it, And so he starts researching this fast that I was doing. And basically he's like, how much water are you drinking? And I'm like, oh, a little bit, not a whole ton. He's like, this says you're supposed to be drinking like a gallon of water a day while you're doing this fast. And I was like, what? And he's like, that may be why you're having that pain. Drink some water. Try drinking, more water and see what happens. I tell y'all, it went away immediately. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because hydration is a huge part of any way of eating, right? And whenever I give tips around health, weight loss, intermittent fasting, anything, right? Water is a huge part of it. So be sure to be drinking your water, getting your fluids in, your electrolytes in if you're gonna do a longer fast, because it's easy to get dehydrated when you're fasting. Like if you normally would drink, let's say 80 ounces of water a day, when you're fasting, you wanna increase that. Because if you think about it, normally your body naturally is holding on to excess water. But when you're fasting, it's not holding on to excess water because it's letting it go easily, right? So you wanna make sure that you're getting that fluid in so that you can sustain, right? Because being dehydrated is not fun. It can cause so many issues, but also it can even affect your health, like overall health and your weight loss, right? So be sure to be getting those fluids in if you're gonna do a longer fast. I say even a 24-hour fast, get your fluids in. Even if you're doing keto, low carb, get your fluids in. Basically, when you do any sort of fast or even keto, what happens is the water flushes out first. And along with your water is all your electrolytes, right? Not all, but a lot of electrolytes. And so you wanna be sure to replenish those so that you can sustain, right? Because if you aren't, what happens is you start to have like brain fog, you get tired, you could faint, like all these crazy things, right? And guess what? this isn't just when doing keto and fasting. I've seen people do it in regular, like they're eating the standard American diet, right? They're eating regular foods and passing out like all those things because they don't have enough, they're dehydrated. Dehydration's huge. So be sure to get your fluids in, right? So anyways, when you're intermittent fasting, fluids are super important. So we talked about now 12 fasting. We talked about 12-16. We talked about OMAD, which is 1 meal a day. And now we've talked about those longer fasts, how you prep with ensuring you're eating enough to getting some fats in so that you can sustain a 36 or 72 hour fast or whatever that is. And we didn't really talk about how to break that fast on a longer fast. So a longer fast, you really want to be mindful of how you break that fast. So these are going to be things like, softer foods, like maybe some vegetables or some eggs or something like that that's going to help to break the fast, or some soup, like a vegetable soup, a bone broth, things that are going to get the body back into, oh, food's actually coming into my body now, like you want to be smart about how you break your fast. You don't just want to just hop in, hand me that steak, because here's the thing, right? Your body's not used to having a steak. So it's gonna be affected by it. So you want to make sure that you're breaking your longer fast, these 36 hour, 48 hour, 72 hour fasts, with something easy for your body to digest, because these fasts are actually going in and helping your gut health and things like that. I've actually done 72 hour fasts that help with some different issues that I was having, like constant burping issues and things like that, right? Some major like gut stuff, right? And so fasting has helped me with some of that. But if I would have gone and just started eating some steak, it didn't matter how much I was fasting, it could have messed me right up. And I love steak, but it's not something to come off of a 72 hour fast with. So, or McDonald's or something crazy like that, right? You want to be really mindful of that. So anyways, if you're looking for some extra tips, these are the, this is kind of my run through. I gave you what I could on intermittent fasting. Obviously there's so much more, and I would say go to ILekaFalette.com so you can at least get on the email list, because I definitely give tips consistently on intermittent fasting. But let me know if you're gonna try intermittent fasting, because I think it's something that you can do, especially with these tips. And I think it's something that's easier than we think, but you always want to be mindful of what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you're doing it and what your goal is while doing it. And I would say definitely go back and watch the video on eating for your hormones, because that will help through the whole intermittent fasting process as well. All right, so thank you so much for watching. Be sure to subscribe and go to ILekaFalette.com, and let's stay connected, all right? Comment and let me know what you're doing. All right, I will talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Don't forget to subscribe. Be sure to watch my mom's next video.